Hey everyone, it is that time of year and it is time for Isaac's AFL 2025 predictions. Now, last season in 2024, we had a great year. We nailed the Premier's prediction. We had Hawthorn finishing in 7th spot, which happened. And obviously, during the round recaps, we also had. Myself saying on one of the recaps, it's most likely to be an interstate grand final, the Swans and the Lions, which is what we got in the end. So, we nailed some great predictions in 2024. Let's hope we can keep that up throughout this year. Let's get into the ladder. Geelong Cats in first spot for me. They had a solid 7-game winning streak last season. They had a couple losses here and there, but they were good enough to make finals and have a decent campaign in 2024. It was a tough loss in finals for them, but I still like their efforts. I think they'll be the benchmark for the season and be minor premiers and have a great year altogether. In second spot, the defending premiers in the Brisbane Lions. They'll have another great year. The Ashcroft brothers, they're going to be an absolute delight to watch. Really exciting times ahead for them and the Lions. The Lions will stick to their winning ways. I think the most important thing for them is starting the season off well. Last season they were a bit rusty at the start. They needed to do a lot of work in the middle of the season and nearing the end. Obviously all their hard work paid off lifting that premiership. They've got game changers all around the field, from their back line to midfield to forward line. They've got a lot of depth. Kitty Coleman returns. Great to see him back for what looks to be a big season for him and the Lions. And that's just a huge asset for Brisbane's defensive line. In third spot, the Collingwood Football Club. I think the Pies can have a bounce back year. Successful trade period. Houston, a huge positive. Tim Membry will help out in the forward line getting goals. He just needs to stay fit and healthy. And I think that he'll be a crucial X factor for the Pies on a consistent basis. I know they had quite a few close wins late last season, but they played some great football against some of the best teams in the competition. I think they look like a strong contender, and I think they can really turn the tables around throughout 2025. In fourth spot, the Sydney Swans. I can't see much changing with how they play. They're a talented bunch who have a great attacking style of play, and they know how to find the football. Yes, it's a different man in the driver's seat, but it's a man who's been there for so long alongside John Longmire. So Dean Cox gets his opportunity. He gets the full reins of this team, and I reckon they'll make the top 8 and have a great run in finals once again. If they do make the grand final, it just depends if they want to show up on the day. We obviously saw it last season. They didn't show up. We saw it against Geelong a few years back, and we also saw it in 2016 when the Bulldogs got the job done. So when they get to the grand final, it's a bit of a curse, that's for sure, as we know. In fifth spot, the Blue Baggers, Carlton FC, lost a couple good players. Do I have them too high up the ladder? I'm a bit concerned. I'm in two minds. Walsh with an injury before the season starts. It's a spanner in the works, but hopefully he has a speedy recovery and is out there as soon as possible. The Blues fans praying that their team stays healthy and fit through the season. Nick Newman, unfortunately, out for the season. That's a huge loss for the Navy Blues. Carlton, not only with their injuries causing headaches, but also the off-field drama with President Luke Sayers stepping down from his role. So let's hope that the off-field drama doesn't affect the focus on the field. The Holland brothers are an exciting duo to watch, and I think the Blues can really feed off them. The Baggers, they'll have a couple shaky moments. They'll always give their fans that roller coaster of emotion throughout games, but I think they're definitely in the mix for finals. I'm keen to see Nick Haynes in the Navy Blue. They've got a couple youngsters as well who look promising. So they've got the assets there. They've got the puzzle pieces. They just need to make it work. And fingers crossed that the injuries don't get in their way. In sixth spot, the Hawthorn Football Club. They'll pick up where they left off. Such a spirited side, full of excitement for the footy world. They got what they wanted with Josh Battle and Tom Barrass coming over. Observing a player like James Sicily is going to be interesting, whether he does go forward or whether he does stay back at times. On a regular basis, you'd think Barrass would be down back alongside Sicily, or if they work out a rotation, maybe they can move their puzzle pieces around and make a wonderful picture. And I'm looking forward to it. I'd love to see them finish higher, and they're definitely a chance, like top four. But I think they'll get 15 wins for the season, and that's why I have them in sixth spot. In seventh spot, the Giants, always going to be in the mix for finals. A great side to watch who are hungry for the football and will definitely be in contention for finals footy and in the top eight mix. In eighth spot, to scrape through and make the eight, the Saints, a very promising side to watch. They finished off last season well. Getting Jack McRae was a huge steal and I think a big positive for this team. He's going to be a strong asset for them. Look, Sinclair will do his thing as always. They get the ball out of half back really well. And yes, they don't have Membry up front anymore to score goals, but the Saints are a team who really rely on those smalls to get their goals, whether it be Higgins or Butler or a couple other players. So an interesting year ahead for Ross Lyon's side. As we move over to the teams who I think will miss out on finals, Port Adelaide in ninth. They struggled in finals last year. They had a rough start in their finals campaign. It was a scrappy win and then a tough exit along with it. Their style of play is kind of being figured out by the rest of the competition, you have to say. Look, I think that seeing other teams shut them down quite easily is concerning and they need to change things around. No Houston, so they lose a constant run off half back. Marshall's out for the season with an Achilles injury, so they lose a forward, scoring goals. A player to watch who could be a positive and an X factor is Jack Lukosius, so keep an eye on him. But I've got the Power just missing out on the 8. The Bulldogs in 10th for me, a talented list with a lot of depth. If they have a really poor season, you'd expect Bevo to move on. Look, I think they'll just miss out on the 8 due to percentage. All up, I think 8th to 11th spot this season will be quite tight. I wouldn't be surprised if they make finals. We've seen it multiple times in the past. But I'm just not feeling that the Dogs are going to make the 8 this year. In 11th spot, the Bombers feel like they'll start the season well, as they did last season. They'll have a decent year, but when push comes to shove, it just won't be there. They won't go to that next level. It was bizarre to see that they barely picked up anyone in the trade period. Kind of felt like a waste. I think they'll miss out on finals again due to percentage. The Gold Coast Suns in 12th. They'll have a few good games, but not seeing a finals push just yet. It'll be a decent year of football for them. The Fremantle Dockers in 13th, so I know it might surprise many, but that's where I've got them. Need to find goals. They could be that team who has a great run and scrapes into the 8, but I just think they're going to drop out at the pointy end as they did last year. We've seen how good they can be. It was a disappointing closeout to the year in 2024. They should have made finals. They should have been a lot better, but they weren't. I just feel like it's going to start well and fall off when it matters most. The Melbourne Demons in 14th. The concern for me is the culture at this club. They had heaps of drama with rumours that players wanted out. Petrarca cracked a rib the other week. Max Gawn with his throat injury as well. I feel like Petrarca might have a touch and go season with injury, health and fitness. Yes, they've got their defensive core, but the consistency with results wasn't there last season, and I think it's going to be another tough year for the D's. In 15th spot, my Roo Boys, North Melbourne. I think they'll be able to get around 8 wins for the season. They'll lose in a couple close ones, but the wins will be well closed out, hopefully. Obviously, a promising side, they always are, with a lot of youth. They're always a team to watch. Getting Darling, Parker, Daniel, 3 experienced players who I'm loving in the Roo kit. I think there will be further improvement. And it'll be another progressive year for the Roos. In 16th spot, the Eagles, they'll have their patch, a mini winning streak on the cards, I reckon. I'm not concerned about them getting the ball forward, but I'm interested in how their defence goes, especially after they lost Tom Barras, so I've got them in 16th. In 17th, my shock of the season is the Adelaide Crows, feeling like it's going to be a rollercoaster year for them. They got Neil Bullen, they got James Peeling, Isaac Cumming, but I'm not confident with the Crows' chances. I just think they won't be consistent and they'll struggle. Hopefully they stay fit and healthy, but I can see a few speed bumps happening in their season. They just need to be really consistent, and unfortunately I'm not feeling it this season for the Crows. Overall, it might be a tough year for South Australian football with both Port Adelaide and the Crows missing out of the 8. But for South Australia's hope, they're obviously going to hope I'm wrong, that's for sure. In 18th spot, the Wooden Spoon. the Richmond Tigers, as many would have them, I think. Obviously, it's a long road ahead with the rebuild over time. Without Bolter for the first few rounds, the team needs a player who's going to lead and be a rotational player, both in defence and in attack. And I'm not sure who that's going to be. They've got a couple of youngsters. They've got to feed off that, and it's a tough road ahead, but it begins this year for the Tigers. Now for my other predictions, my premiers. The Collingwood Football Club. They won it 2 years ago. They gained a few unique players along with their already strong and well experienced team. I think they're in for a great bounce back year, and I think a few people are sleeping on Collingwood, so watch out, because what we saw 2 years ago was remarkable, and I think that we're going to see a similar style of play and winning fever and premiership fever from this Pies side. And I think if they can win the premiership, which I think they will, I think it'd be a great note to send off Scott Pendlebury, Steele Sidebottom, Jeremy Howe. That'd be fantastic to see. The grand final, I think Victoria get what they want. I know it's a massive wild call, but why not? Collingwood and Carlton in the grand final. It'll be an absolute spectacle and an iconic clash on the biggest days of them all in Australian sport. You absolutely love to see it. The MCG will be rocking. These two sides, they don't like each other, and that's why on the biggest stage of them all, it's going to be a heated contest. Let's hope that happens. That's my grand final prediction. And my grand final wild card is the Geelong Cats against the Hawthorn Footy Club. Another iconic clash and rivalry which has been going on for many years. This will be the highlight of Australian sport and Australia, I reckon, for the year if we get a grand final like this, or the Pies and Blues one. Look, the last time these two sides met, the Cats and the Hawks, in a grand final was 2008. Hawthorn won on that occasion. If it does happen, and if the Cats do take on the Hawks in the grand final, I actually think the Cats win, if that does happen. But, look, that'd be spectacular either way. If you're a Victorian fan or if you're an interstate fan, you're going to get a great game of football, that's for sure. The Coleman Medal, Jeremy Cameron, second last year with 64 goals, almost matched the amount which he won on in 2019 with 67. He's the main guy to go to in the forward line for the Cats this season. Such a great player at 31 years of age. I think he'll kick away and get his second Coleman Medal for his career. My Brownlow medalist, Nick Dacos. Wild call, but I reckon he's going to go back to back. Win it this year in 2025 and then win it in 2026. Incredible effort last year, coming second and polling 38 votes at the age of 21. I know Collingwood are a talented bunch, where perhaps teammates might take votes off Nick, but he showed that he can get the votes on field last year, with a few players getting a couple of votes here and there, but he still was that standout, and I think he'll be the standout again. Hopefully he stays fit and healthy. He had a bit of a foot issue in the off-season and in pre-season, so fingers crossed he's all good for the season. Houston and Harry Perryman will really free up Nick Dacos. He can move into the midfield a lot more and work his magic. It's going to be another exciting year for Nick, and I think he'll get the Brownlow medal. Players who will come close and finish in the top 5 for the Brownlow include Isaac Heaney and John Newcombe. Both players had fantastic years last season. Both of their teams should rack up the wins, and these two will be driving constant players for their teams. They will just be very consistent, find the football and work their magic on a regular basis. So keep an eye on Isaac Heaney and John Newcombe throughout this season. My Brownlow Smoky, hear me out on this one, Jack McRae, just needs to get the start and get game time. Didn't get that much game time with the Bulldogs last season, and when he did, he showed how good he was. He's a ball magnet. He got a goal here and there. He's such a great player. Sinclair will definitely take a couple votes off him, don't get me wrong. And that's why I'm not too confident that he'll win it. But I think he can make the top 10 and be an eye-catcher in the voting. So I think he can really cement himself in this Saints side and be a real spark for them this season. The rising star, well, so much talented youth, and don't you love to see it in the footy world? These youngsters get their chance. Jaeger Smith for me, pick 3 from Carlton, promising player on the rise, knows how to find the football, great awareness. If he gets game time, he's one to watch, clever with the footy in hand. Some moments in his highlight packages really remind me of players like Nick Dacos and Sam Walsh, how they get out of trouble and situations out there on the field. He's one to watch and a key prospect for the Blues this season. Now, My other pick for the Rising Star, Leo Lombard from the Gold Coast Suns. Pick 9, love his running game, good link up with the chain of handballs down the field. He knows how to get goals as well. He's an exciting youngster, and I think it's going to be a great year for Leo Lombard. He can really ignite this Suns team if he gets game time and the opportunity in the squad on a consistent basis. Drop your predictions below. Let me know what you think of my predictions. It's going to be another exciting year of football. I'll keep you all up to date with all the latest news, all the recaps. Appreciate your support. We're in for a great year. There's only one more thing to say. You gotta love footy. Make sure to like this video, comment your AFL predictions below, and subscribe to my YouTube channel. You gotta love footy. For more content, make sure to head to my Instagram, Facebook, and TikTok page. Chuck us a follow, share it out to your friends and family. Much appreciated.